Claude said, anybody want some? I was sharing.
All right, y'all, we are live. We want to welcome everyone to our community book study group. This is week number 3 in our Manchild in the Promised Land. So just give us a moment as we get started. Do y'all have pencils or pens to write with?
Oh,
I can bring some.
Yeah, the pencils are here.
Oh yeah, the pencils are there. All right, so just give them out.
Mr. Jones ain't that tall, so help Mr. Jones.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Oh.
Okay, so we will do a recap. Others I know are coming in. We want to.
Crystal said she was coming to the book club.
Yeah, Julie is coming.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jamie. We're expecting Jamie to come. So I don't know if you want to grab something to eat first, folks. I'm gonna give a just a brief overview and introduction where we're at, because we have 2 new folks that are here. That outline is what we're going to touch on tonight. I'm going to be asking you to just make some notes, so things that we will discuss. All right, so let's just prepare ourselves to open up with prayer. Meditation and prayer. Just one moment. Quieting our spirit and focusing our attention. It's always good to do as we get started, especially discussing something that's heavy like this text, all right? So if you would just say bring ourselves to center, and let's try to just relax our bodies, our shoulders. You're sitting or I'm standing, however you are comfortable with just relaxing yourself. And we want to focus our attention on the breath. Just pay attention to your breathing. Feel your breath. Feel the inhale and the exhale. Allow your breath to come in through your lungs and just move through your body. And as you release it, just release whatever may be challenging you tonight as a barrier to being present and fully present in this gathering. We offer this gathering to our collective uprising and well-being, that as we study this text, that we will learn about our own lives. We will glean insights into how to be the best version of ourselves as we walk this journey called life, as we walk it with each other, with one another, and as we make choices, we have options. May we always choose that which is for our highest good. Ashe. Amen. Okay, so as we begin, we want to just thank you, Sister Dominique. I think this is your first week being here at the book study, and so we welcome you. We've been studying Manchild in the Promised Land. You can probably find it online. If you want us to order your copy, if you think you want to continue, we can get a copy for you. And we also want to just welcome our other brother that's here with us. And I'll have to let you know all of that. I don't know off the top of my head, okay? But we'll take a look at that. And we just welcome you to Triumph, welcome you to this safe and sacred space and to our gathering as we study together. So the book is a kind of loose biographical account of the author's life. His name is Claude Brown. He's an African-American male who went on to, we know, become a writer and do some wonderful things with his life. But in his childhood, he had some challenges and some difficult choices to make. He didn't always make the right choices. He lived during a time and in a community where there was a lot of poverty, a lot of drugs, crime. And in fact, as a young boy, he got involved in all of these things at a very early age. Not oftentimes we think when a kid hits their teenage years, they take a wrong path. But this young man actually seemed to have got off on the wrong foot from day one.
From day one.
He came out of his mother's womb trying to figure out what trouble he could get into. So it seems. But in the book he's called Sonny. But his name is, that's the name that his family calls him. And he is Claude Brown. So what we've read so far, last week we dealt with the topics of family dynamics, father-son relationships. We talked about how in his life he seemed to, you know how some people say trouble seems to find me?
Yeah.
Sonny seemed to chase after trouble.
I think it's trouble that was chasing him.
Trouble was chasing him. But it could be, and that's a good point.
Yeah, because I don't know.
And it's a good point because it seems so interesting how somehow he couldn't get away from it,
He
right?
couldn't get away, he just couldn't.
He couldn't get away from it.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily learned behavior because he was so young.
Young, right.
Have we known any kids or folks in our own lives that seem to just get off on the wrong foot very early on?
I myself was a bad child, but Sonny was like bad, man.
So Sonny made you look good?
Yeah, I don't believe so. I said like for real.
I still find he wasn't that bad. I still find he wasn't bad. I just find trouble was just around him, but it just wasn't bad. I do find that.
Trouble was around him, just around him.
It was just around him. All of how he swing, trouble showed it head.
Trouble was there. And so do you think the trouble came to as kind of a teacher for his life?
I think
it kept showing up maybe to help him learn some hard lessons?
Maybe it could be that one too. Because all where he show up, you will see trouble. People, trouble always have its head out. It's there.
And he always was looking for trouble too, though. Always looking for something to do. Right?
Looking for something to do. So, I mean, that again is another good point. Looking for something to do. Could it be that he was bored and there was nothing really to get his attention? Was it just trouble he was looking for, or was it something to do?
I think it was like.
He seen a lot of things and wanted to do it.
Yeah, he seen a lot of things that he wanted to do, and I think he just had like too much time on it. Not too much. Like he was looking for something to do. It looked like he always had to do something.
Something with trouble.
He just wanted to do something. Like, not even his sisters like used to pray like, please be good, but daddy won't beat you no more. Please, just be good, or whatever. He had two sisters that loved him dearly, and they used to hate when his father used to beat him all the time. Like, please just be good, but daddy won't beat you no more. Like.
So could it possibly be, again, back to what you said, Jessica, that he was looking for something to do, that energy in him may have been more hyper than, say, other children? And he was trying to find an outlet for that, and the thing that seemed to be there
It's trouble.
was trouble.
That's the only outlet he could find so far.
Was trouble.
His best friend.
Trouble.
Was trouble. And he had no difficulty finding trouble because his friends were ready to introduce and inform him of different ways to get in trouble. So at a very early age, you think the stealing that he was doing was because of that his family was poor? Because even though there were some of his friends who seemed not to have sufficient food, right? Some of the friends and people in his community didn't have, food all of the time. I didn't really get that in Sonny's household.
No. I don't think that they was poor.
They were poor, but he had a mom and a dad who both worked, that were in the household with 3 children.
They weren't poor?
So they were poor, but poor is relative.
Oh.
In the sense that poor can be, you are working every day to put food on the table for your family with nothing left over. You have enough to cook a meal, and I said we grew up poor, right?
Poor.
But we never missed a meal, even if that meal was just some beans and rice and a piece of whole cake bread. We didn't miss
That's
a meal.
good work.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily what the neighbors were eating, but we never sat at the table and Mama said there's nothing to eat. That's never been the case. But there are families I know that sat at the table and there was nothing to eat. They didn't have. And so in Sonny's community, there were those who didn't have. But Sonny started stealing very early. So was that again just his way of finding something to do, and not necessarily because he was trying to get food and he was hungry?
Because he really didn't have to steal, he just wanted to steal.
He
Oh,
came
he
from
really
what
had
he's
to
seen
wait,
going
wait,
on
wait,
around.
Yeah,
Food.
like he
He got influence.
got influence, like he liked doing it,
Yeah.
right?
You mean he didn't have to steal? How would he eat that? He didn't steal.
Because his mother always had food in the house. It's just something like Sonny just wanted to do. He was just like a troubled child.
Influence.
It was fun. So, I mean, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I grew up a church kid. In church, I say before I was even born, in my mother's womb, because my dad was the bishop, so we actually lived in, where we lived, it was the church's apartment. But I remember the first time that I stole something from a store.
Yeah,
Doing
everybody
church.
did that, right?
Yeah, so
Everybody
think
did
about
that.
it. I was somewhere between 8 and 10 years old. And so we went to church, and church was all day. We went to church in the morning, and we didn't get home until nighttime. So my cousins, who were sometime church folks, this is my cousins on my dad's side, my aunt, his sister's grandchildren actually, were a little bit more streetwise than my family was. Hey, Jill. They were a lot more streetwise. Because they lived a different kind of lifestyle in some way than we did. So I remember it was one day, we had church in the morning, and then after the morning we would have dinner, and then we would just kind of play and hang out, and then we come back to church. So there was a little store, like this, a bodega across the street. This was in the Bronx. That was across the street, and we were all going over, and we may have had a nickel or dime to get a little something. I don't think I had any money. I was just my sibling was probably just hanging out with them. And I remember one of them took something and put it in their pocket, and it was like, do it. And those were Hostess cakes with the gold top. And I remember I put one of them in my pocket, and then we ran out and we ran back to church. And I remember being so darn scared. I wasn't scared of the store catching me or the police catching me. I was scared of getting caught by my mother. I knew I'd be dead meat. I would not be sitting here today.
No.
But when I thought about reading Sonny and I thought about why I did it, there was fun. It was kind of like the
Like
thrill
excitement.
of doing
The
it.
excitement.
The
for 'em.
excitement of
Yeah.
doing it.
As long as you don't get caught, it's exciting.
As long as you
Yeah.
don't
Get caught.
Right.
I don't remember doing it ever again.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I was so
again,
afraid,
great.
I would have probably told on myself.
And
You
then
know?
Miss Julie.
But,
Oh, you
I
got
was so afraid of her finding out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and I hadn't thought about that in years until reading this and
Yes.
thinking about Sonny, like, why was he stealing like this? And I said, oh, but think about your own experience. There was a thrill to that. So was it that he was just looking for a thrill?
Mhm.
And as Joan said, you know, trouble was there, and so he kept choosing that path.
Yeah, that was this. But I didn't think of his age.
He was young.
Young.
Very young.
That's so sad.
But I mean, I wasn't a teenager. I was somewhere between 8 and 10.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was somewhere between 8 and 10 because my little cousins, we were in the Bronx, and my little cousins, we was in church, and we left church and went across the street. They were a lot more streetwise
Yeah.
than us Addison.
Yeah.
So I can say they influenced
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
I can say,
influenced.
listen, you know, they made me do it.
Yeah, but that was
They
no
didn't make you
excuse.
No, they
no
didn't make
thing.
me do
You
it.
No,
do
you
it.
did.
I
You
did
did
it.
on my
Because
I
you
did
wanted
it.
to.
I did it because I wanted to. And I guess if, you know, they lived in the Bronx, but this time we were living in New Jersey.
Right.
But I guess if I had been hanging with them every day,
I probably wouldn't have did it. I don't think so.
and if I was hanging and living around them, I may because maybe I wouldn't want to fit in. I don't know.
Uh-uh.
At that age.
I would
that's
say,
really
your
good
mother, forget
But
it.
I'm saying that was the fear that I had.
I was
I
gonna say,
was
I wouldn't have, what?
She just-
I would've got away with it once, but I wouldn't have.
I, you know, it's so funny how
What?
things are triggered. I can see the store.
Shoot.
I can see
Oh my
us.
God.
I can see the church, and I
Oh.
can feel, you know, the thrill of doing
Yeah.
that,
Right there.
and then the fear of what's going to happen.
Oh my God, I can't even.
So the question is, why do we choose the things that we choose?
Right.
Mm.
I mean, is it because, I mean, I didn't do it anymore that I recall because of fear of the consequences.
Yeah.
If there's no fear of
We
consequences,
don't have any, you don't have
So-
any.
so
You
then-
just steadily stay in it. If you haven't got no fear, you
I
just
think
steadily
this was
stay in it.
mostly peer pressure, cause every time he looked for trouble, he always looked for a certain group of guys to do it.
The hang out with,
He
yeah.
had like a codependency. I believe there was a serious codependency. Every person that he chose to, he had to do. You never see him doing stuff too much solo. It was always
Right.
with
Oh, with a group of group.
Always
Yeah, with a
with
group.
the
That's because he was acknowledging what they was doing first. Then he liked what they doing, then he started following them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he was never a leader.
No,
But-
he followed.
But the thing that was interesting, do you remember, did y'all read through the part when, remember he had heard about heroin?
Horse.
Horse.
Yes.
Horse.
I could not believe
Remember he
that.
heard, and he didn't know what it was, but he heard all these wonderful things
stories
about
about it.
horse.
Right.
And he and his friends all wanted to try it.
Yes.
Right? Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, what happened when he tried
He
horse?
thought he was gonna die. I thought he
He
said
thought
his
he was
stomach was, he was like, I'm gonna
He
die.
had
He thought he was gonna die.
And he promised God that if he ever.
He thought he was gonna die.
He thought he had this kind of out of
Out-of-body
body experience, like
and nobody could help him.
no. So how did that
Yeah, that's
experience
true.
affect him?
Oh, he said, well, that having a bad experience, he said that if God delivered him like out of this, he would never do it again. He wouldn't- yeah, and that was interesting that
That
happened.
happened.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
he wasn't continually pressured, and that hence they may be still in the office. Yeah, just look in your office, I'm sorry.
Is it open?
Yeah, it's open. That they were pressured, his friends could not, well, in fact, one of his friends, who was it that told him,
I think Danny or Dan.
that if he did it again, that, you know, he would do something to him. But that never stopped him doing anything else he wanted to do. But his experience with the drug that time was enough to say, I ain't doing this
You
one
know,
no more.
that one was too
I'm
bad.
not gonna do this one
Yeah,
no more.
This one was too bad
Yeah.
for him. He couldn't
Yeah.
handle that one.
So,
Right.
so there was, the severity of the consequence of what happened was enough to shock him and to say,
I thought
no
you were
more.
sure.
No more, right?
Make
Uh,
it play.
uh,
I got you. So when we think about what is our process for choosing? Is it that we choose, and listen to this, based on some moral compass of right and wrong, or do we choose based on the nature of the consequences of our choices?
In the first instance, that's just for
I
them.
don't think it's a moral issue.
In the first instance, for you to take it as a habit, that's the first thing going to hit you. Boy, if my mother catch me and my father, I will die. So that is your first. But if you haven't got that, you'll take a try in anything. You'll try anything.
Let me share another, and I'm sharing my experience. So I don't want to put anybody else on the spot, and feel free to too. I didn't try horse, but again, I grew up in this very religious house, right? I remember being in middle school, back then smoking was like
a
big thing for little kids, especially at that age. So I remember, let me finish sharing my story. I remember being in middle school and being a bunch of girls in the bathroom. I don't think I inhaled it. I don't even think I got the taste of the cigarette, but I think we was just pretending to smoke. But the next time that I do remember trying to smoke, and what made me do this, I can't tell you. I was in my 20s. I was working at a bank. It was my first professional job. And my coworker offered me a cigarette, and it was a Cool. And Cool is one of the strongest cigarettes you can smoke. Filtered cigarette. I drew one on that Cool and almost fell off my chair. I had, and again, reading about Sonny's experience, I thought about myself. And that was just a cigarette. And then you could smoke in the office. Routinely, I was working at a bank and I could smoke in it. But I remember it going to my head, and it was like my whole body was spinning around. Well, I didn't smoke any more Cool.
No.
I eventually did smoke, but I didn't smoke Cool. I didn't touch a Cool after that. But this part of the book has made me just re-examine choices. Why and how we make our choices. And what's at the core of how we choose. Because we can say, well, people have choices, and why did you choose that, and why did you choose the other? And sometimes I think we can keep choosing the wrong thing if we don't understand why and how we're making those choices. I mean, there certainly was a fear factor in me. Growing up, not all my siblings, some of them were just shy of being like Sonny, but I certainly wanted to make it to adulthood. I didn't want to die as a kid. And I knew, I just felt like certain behavior I would not survive. I would not survive. So I was going to just try to stay under the radar and do what was right until I could make it to adulthood. I wasn't going to risk it. So that was part of my decision making as a child. If that had not been there, I don't know what things I would or would not have done.
And I think with him, it seemed like he had no fear of consequences.
No, because the beatings wasn't enough.
No.
So that didn't do it.
And everything he always wanted was like challenging me, let me go beyond, let me keep, it was never, and I kind of felt, me personally, I felt that his parents was very negligent. I'm sorry, when you talk about 13 years old, and then you talk about 2 years in a juvenile, and then not spending, admiring the pimps and the prostitutes, I'm like, where are your, where's the child?
And that's an excellent point, because I was teeter-tottering on just parents. What were you doing? They both seemed to be working. Could it have been that they were so preoccupied with their work and just zoned out? It seemed like they weren't present at all with him.
Not with him.
They weren't present.
That's why he hung with them.
I mean, they were there in the house, but he wasn't present with them.
And I think Carol, that was his sister.
Carol, yes.
I was saying to myself, well, it's his story, but I was saying, if you see your brothers doing I know my brother, he was, And like you said, it was a fear factor. I mean, he got on heroin, and he actually broke into a Jewish synagogue, and my grandmother was working for these Jews when he got arrested, and they actually thought so much of my grandmother that they put up their store to get him out because the bail was so high. And he was like maybe 15 or 16 years old. And I mean, he went to jail. A Jewish synagogue, this little black.
What was he trying to steal from the Jewish synagogue?
They were trying to steal the gold, and they were so stupid because they stole it and then they tried to sell it in the community where they stole it, and the people were like, yeah, these kids are out there trying to sell this stuff. But like you said, drugs and he got on drugs or whatever the case was, but it was just crazy. And the restriction, I mean, all we did was, we were like, he went to jail? They're going to kill him in jail? So that kept us from, like, his experience, like you said, seeing somebody go through stuff, you'd be like, oh,
I'm not doing
that, So, I just felt there was a lot of parental negligence to me. I don't know, I mean.
Or naivety?
I don't even know.
Lack of knowing how to parent. I don't know.
Stay out all night? What? At weeks at a time, and you're 10 or 11 years old? What is that about?
And I thought too, just trying to
survive?
No, just trying to be a little generous to the parents. He was born in 1945.
Okay.
So his parents would have been born about 25 if they were
Depression?
Yeah, during the Depression. But it was a different way of life. We think of children as being these fragile, vulnerable, naive little beings that need to be protected. Remember slavery.
Now I'm about to say, was 1945. That was like slavery time, right?
Less than 100 years after slavery, that you were working in the fields at 3 years old. There was no childhood for black children.
Right.
You were sold and bought as babies and out in the field working.
So that could have.
My dad started working at 9 years old.
Wow.
And so that idea of what does it mean to be a child? If for the parent, childhood didn't exist for you.
Right.
And again, as girls, I mean, my mom was married at 15, my grandmother was married at 13. Childhood, the way we think about it, it didn't exist in that generation. So maybe just the world was changing for them, but they were still trapped maybe in the past. And not seeing the world as it was coming about. So that leads to the first thing on the page, change. On page, if you have your book, on page okay, did I put the page number there? Okay, I found it. I want us to just start reading and just find it. Okay, so the beginning of chapter 4 on page 93. If we would, let's just start reading at the top of that page and read down so we give some context to it. Page 93 is the beginning of chapter 4. Who wants to read?
I'll read.
Okay.
All right. For 2 weeks, I have been kind of, excuse me. For 2 weeks, I have been counting the days. And it seemed that the 19th of August would never come. But one beautiful morning, it finally came around. I didn't feel too sad about leaving Woodwick. I kind of thought it was maybe, all right. I kind of thought I would Maybe it was because I had been there so long. 2.5 years. 2.5 years. I remember waving goodbye to everybody, happily trying hard to, trying hard to smile. I guess I felt a little sad, but I wanted to get to New York and to all the new things that were waiting for me there. The new girls I met visit home, the new highs, the horse that KB, excuse me, the horse that KB was going to have for me. I'd be running with Danny and Butch and Kid again, and I'd be doing the same old things, but I'd be doing them better because I was older and bigger and hipper now. I thought, oh Lord, Harlem, let me get to you. It was exciting feeling, going home. It was exciting being home for the first few days, the first few weeks. Then I don't know what happened. But suddenly it just seemed to be gone. Harlem had changed a lot. Everybody had changed. I had changed too, but in a different way. I was moving away from things. There was no place for me. I felt lonelier in Harlem than I felt when I first went to Wiltwyck. I couldn't go back to Wiltwyck. I had been trying to get away from there for years to get back to this. Now it seems as though this wasn't there anymore. It really was confusing for a while. It seemed as though Butch and Danny and Kid weren't doing the things we used to do, and they didn't want to do the things that I wanted to do. All they wanted to do was get high on some horse and go to dances and things like that, and maybe shoot somebody occasionally if they had been messed with. But they said that bad pop, that bebopping was gone. It was out of style. It was for kids, and since I was one of them, I had to say it was for kids too, and I had to put it down.
Okay, just pause there, and let's just talk for a few minutes, and we'll go back to reading. So, this idea of change. And again, we want to look at Sonny's life, but we also want to just shine the mirror on our own life. So have you ever experienced what Sonny is experiencing? Looking forward to something, maybe seeing someone or going someplace or being with someone that you were familiar with, but then it seemed like everything had changed.
For me, I would say for me, like growing up, we used to always go to my aunt May house or whatever, or all my father's sister, or my first cousins, whatever, and it was like so much fun there. Hanging with my cousin, my Isha, Tammy, Mensa, Leroy, Charles, and when they come to my house, I always have fun too. And when I go over there, we always have fun. But as they got older, and everybody started going to high school, started doing their own thing and college and all that, like not paying watching karate movies and telling jokes on each other, playing cards. It's like everybody just started going their own way, like hanging their own way and stuff like that. And it was like that for me hanging with my brother, my closest brother, whatever. Like so, I guess it kind of felt like that. I kind of felt like that. Where all the fun things at? I ain't want to go to Aunt May house no more. It was bored. Like I don't want to go to Aunt May house no more. It's bored. Ain't nothing for us to do over there no more.
So something changed that you didn't like.
They grew up.
They grew up.
That's what it is. They grew up.
They grew up.
My cousins is big cousins now. They grew up.
But you wanted it to be the same.
Same, right? You know, 'cause I'm still a baby, and I'm always been. I want to still have fun and whatever. But everybody was growing up and going their own way.
Anyone else?
Anybody else?
I'm hearing, I'm trying to digest what she
You
just
need
said.
to eat something. Want a piece of chicken and some pizza?
Please.
Yes, Carrie's gonna get it for you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
That's how I they just grew up. I don't know. What about y'all?
I'll tell you what I think. If you excuse me.
You got the question, right?
Go ahead.
You got the
Yes.
question? Okay, go ahead.
To be honest with you, I'm very opinionated when it comes to Black Americans, and I'm sorry that I'm not gonna be honest.
But this is about you. The question is asking you if you've had an experience where you were looking forward to being with someone, going someplace, or doing something, And then you got with them or went there or did that and things had changed. It wasn't what you had expected. So this is about your experience.
Yes, but I'm not gonna shortchange you and give you an answer. Just subscribe to what you want to hear. This is what I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
I think you're a beautiful people, and I'm gonna bring in my African experience to you.
Okay.
I think, to be honest and to be without living, without imparting what I think, you suffer from social. Remember when I told you about social engineering?
Yes.
I think Black America suffers from that. If I can say that.
Suffer from what?
Social engineering.
What is that referring
What's
to?
that?
That means you've been made to think, you've been engineered to think a certain way.
But we want to make sure that we have limited time
Yes.
that we stay on the subject. Remember apples with apples and oranges with oranges?
Mhm.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a question
Yes.
about your experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fair if you want to relate your African experience and compare that to African Americans. That's a good way you can do it. But it's about,
That's a straight question.
so your question is, have you ever experienced, and I think you may have because you shared some things with me this afternoon, was looking forward to going somewhere or being with someone or doing something that you had done before, someone you had been with before. Maybe you hadn't seen them in a while, or you had not been there in a while. And then when you got there, you got with them, it seems like they had changed, or the situation had changed. Have you ever experienced that?
I don't want to give you a fake answer. You threw me off there. Your question really does not, it's not hitting nothing.
Nothing is coming up for you.
Nothing.
Okay, well sit with it for a moment.
Mhm.
Sit with it and think. All right? Sit with it and think. And if something does come to you, then that's good. All right? Thank you. Thank you for being honest about that. So the idea of change. Anyone else? How about you, Julie? When we get older, we have more experience.
I was gonna say, this is a change. This is a change. What we're going through now, I don't know what else to say. I mean, in retrospect, just think about our experience with the kids running here and there and doing all these different things. And I'm saying to myself, like, really, and the engagement that we have with the kids, going to camping outfits, and they
All the things we used to do.
and they're now in their 40s and late, they turning into
almost
50s.
Yeah.
And they talk about it. They're like, oh, we used to go to church, and we used to go have so much fun, and this and that. We go to all these outings and stuff like that. And I say to them, well, what are you doing with your kids now?
Right.
Mom, it's a different experience. Kids don't want to go to church now,
They didn't want to go
So
there, but we
they-
made
yeah,
them.
yes.
Yeah.
They didn't wanna
So,
go
yeah,
there.
so, that in itself is a change. And I think about our parents, we didn't have a decision. We was told, you going to church, you get up, you go to church, whether you wanted to or not. And now it's just so, I look at them like, what happened? I don't know, did we fail, or what is this, Saundra? Cause I can't see, we had them in church, and their relationship is not like ours. In fact,
No, it's not.
and I don't know, I was just trying,
I can tell you what happened. Yes, I'm sorry to be I'll tell you what happened. You know what happened? Satan is very smart. He creeps in with the first thing, and you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it though. First of all, give women empowerment. That's how it creeps in. You don't like what I say, but it's gonna be the truth.
That's
First,
an interesting perspective.
yes, it's the truth.
Interesting perspective.
Yes, first give women empowerment. Make them so powerful that they can challenge the man. Because even when the snake sneaked in, came through the woman, you don't like what I say, but it's the truth. The truth is seldom told and rarely beautiful. But it is the
Do you
truth.
feel in your life that women have power over you?
Never over me. Nobody has
Okay.
power over me. I'm a man to myself.
So when we look at, let's bring it back to the book, and thank you for sharing that. when we look at the book, one of the interesting things, and we've talked about this before, is Sonny and his relationship with his dad versus his relationship with his mom.
Yes.
His dad, Sonny and his dad were forever locked, like,
Can I be very outspoken for 1 second?
quickly, yes.
Yeah.
Please?
Yes.
The one thing I know about black American, and I'm African, so I don't share this with you. Your women are too powerful.
We all the same.
Yeah, too.
African and American, we
Yeah,
all the
we're
same. We all
African.
one.
Yes.
Yeah, we are one,
Yes,
one blood.
but
one
your
blood.
women try to be too powerful.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing your opinion, that you believe women are too powerful. And I appreciate you sharing your experience. So thank you for being honest with how you feel about that. So when we look at Sonny, again, and the
With all
relationship.
due respect, it's not about my opinion, it's the truth.
Well, and I appreciate that that's your truth. I appreciate that that is your truth. Yes, I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing your truth. Thank you for that. Sonny, do you think he loved his father? He hated his father? Why do you think he was in such a contentious relationship with his father? You think he hated his father if he got beatings?
I think he loved his father. It's just he ain't know how to take
What are you
Discipline?
talking about?
Discipline?
Yeah, it was just discipline. He ain't like the discipline.
Like for me too. Cause you know what? I ain't never want my father to beat me. I always wanted my mother to beat me.
I want to say something. I'm not going to be very popular here, but I'm going to say something.
Cause my mother don't beat me.
One at a time. I'll call you just a moment.
I always, you know what I mean? Cause I was a trouble child. Everybody know I was bad.
Not Jessica.
Growing up.
Not Jessica.
Oh man, I was a wild child, man. Growing up, I was a bad man. I hung with all boys. My brothers.
So who picked you?
My mother and father beat me, but I like when my mother give me beatings because she don't beat me as bad as my father beat. My father be like, I'm gonna beat the skin off you, girl. You know, learn to that. My mother like, oh, Willie, just knock it out. My mother just pinch me or whatever and send me, go get in the shower and pinch me. I told you, I told you to stop it and pinch me. Now get in the shower and go to bed or whatever. My father like, be waiting for me with his little black leather belt like, come in here, girl. I'm gonna beat the skin off you. I heard about you. You act like I'm gonna beat the skin off. I got something for you. I'm like, what I do now? You know what you did. You know exactly what you did. I heard. You was up there at the Brooks stealing bikes up there. I told you, I'm in these streets, girl. You can't get away with nothing you do. All my kids, I know what you do. I hang in the streets. You know my father, he was a drug addict, and he always hung in the streets or whatever. So my mother worked 2 jobs. Yeah, my mother loved her husband. Yeah, no, my mother never put him out.
But you can't. You got to put your own husband out.
I can't put him out.
Yeah, but if it's your husband, you can put him out. You can't put out someone else's husband.
I'm sorry.
But that's like, you know, and I'm gonna call it. It's like people will tell you, well, I wouldn't take that with if that was my child. Well, you deal with your child when you want to deal with your child. You know, I ain't gonna tell you nothing about how you do that. Go ahead, Dominic.
And let me tell you what happened to me. My mother got remarried right into this Jamaican guy, you know? And when I was, you know, teenager, I was no more, what, 13 or 14, but I had a body shape.
Yeah.
And then he, like, took his finger and then touched my breast. And I was like, wait, does my mother know that you do this? She said, no, you want your mother to kill me? So I didn't tell my mother. I kept it for a secret. You know?
And they love that.
And then, yeah, I kept it. I didn't want to say anything, you know. But I told my oldest brother.
That was enough.
Yeah, that was enough.
Yeah.
And then we had some kids that moved into the neighborhood, Jessica, right? They didn't like us because we were Haitians, right?
Wow.
And then, you know, so I made my little brother, you know, stand in front of the house and curse them out because they were saying bad things about they don't like Haitians and this and that. And then the girl came back to my stepfather and talked about, oh, I said I was gonna put my foot up her butt. And I was like, I didn't even say such a thing like that. So you know what he did? He took about this thick, Jessica, and beat me with it. So you know what I did?
I see it coming. I see it coming.
You know what I did? I just for that. So I had did some voodoo on him. So I was like, so it came around to him. Saundra, listen, it came around to him because I was like, because you don't know know me like that. If I tell you I didn't do something, you believe I said I didn't do it.
So you got back. You got revenge.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't know
You
me
got
like
revenge.
that. You don't know me like that.
Second Dominic, and you don't know me like that.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's how
torturous.
so I make sure his
I'm happy
ass
I
was,
took my food
excuse
first.
my friend. Saundra, I make sure excuse my friend, I make sure his
Julie, you
ass
didn't get nothing to eat. Get some.
She said she
I'm
making
like,
it happen.
what is going on here?
She said,
And
voodoo.
we said we are getting to know each other, things we do, things we didn't. What did I say Sunday? We're gonna find out some things about each other that we didn't know, right?
She heard voodoo. She looked at
I'm
that.
gonna chill back, Julie.
Julie said what?
We forming community, y'all. Patient?
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Tommy.
God don't like ugly.
No, I didn't like that.
Not too far.
Ain't too far and pretty easy. I like that.
He's not too far and pretty. What
I don't know. It's the
I say all
same.
the
He ain't
time.
favoring either
He ain't favoring nobody. He ain't
either
favoring
one.
nobody. And we
Come
all like
straight
God's
out,
children.
Why? How come we don't favor it?
Cause we all God's children.
Mhm.
God don't favor nobody. We all are God's children.
Yeah.
There ain't no favor.
She ordered some food since she heard voodoo. She said, I want that food.
I didn't take no
Listen, Julie.
She said, I need a slice of pizza. I stole damn
Because you don't hit me.
Oh, so I ain't saying don't mess with none of our parents.
That's right. If I tell you something I didn't do and I didn't do it, you believe it.
We,
Oh,
we
we
see
said,
it, Dominique.
oh, well, I'm gonna get you. I know what you did. Oh, I'm gonna hit you with a gun because I showed up. I wasn't the one. You messing with the
We hear you,
wrong
Dominique.
one.
And you know what? This is great. Because Sunday, we learned something about Brother Joe.
Yes, yes.
Nah,
And
but
today,
don't.
we learned something about you, Dominique.
Yeah.
Today, we learned something about
Dominique.
Dominique.
Yeah.
And Jessica.
Oh, y'all already know I'm an open book.
So this is what, right, sharing is caring. And we're exercising patience
Right.
and humility.
Right.
And just watch your food, that's all.
Dominique said, I ain't taking no mess out
Yeah,
there.
I didn't take, yeah.
I'm just
Yeah, I
back
just
like
don't
you.
need to know. If I tell you I didn't do it, I mean, why would you take their side instead of taking my side?
Yeah.
I'm
You
your
did it,
You
child.
must have been traumatized, because you don't remember that from when
And you see how she's experiencing it now,
well,
right?
they say you can forgive, but you never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I've been through a lot.
And you
We
know
can
why my
tell,
father.
Dominique, we appreciate you, I appreciate you sharing it, because I can just
We
see,
can get mad with
I
you.
can see in your body energy
Yeah.
that
Right.
you're not just telling a story, you experience it.
experiencing it.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
experiencing it.
Yeah, but
Even though we're
why
athletes,
would
we're
they not
just-
believe me?
But
We can't determine why someone does or does not do something. I was sharing with someone earlier today. You can't make sense
Don't put your
out of
hands on me, 'cause you don't know me
nonsense.
like that.
If
Me and my
something-
little brother, we was like, you don't put your hand on us, 'cause you don't know us like that.
But you, in that moment, you made a choice. I mean, something changed. Clearly, your mother married someone that became your stepfather, so there was
Yeah,
a change.
he wasn't.
And he had
was my
all,
friend,
at
he
some
wasn't
point,
blamed.
and at some point, he crossed a boundary with you and
Yeah.
violated you.
Yeah.
And
Touching
then
my
you tried to
bust
be
and
the
all that.
disciplinarian.
I was the brother.
Did your brother,
can I say
while you
something?
talking to him,
I will let you in just a
did
moment, yes.
because it's I'm
That's okay.
because I'm thinking in terms of my daughter.
Mhm.
I remember growing up in the Bronx, and we lived in this big high-rise building, and there was a doorman. So we had a
Yeah.
ride.
Mhm.
Right. This doorman was a pervert.
Oh,
So, yeah.
wow.
So what he did was, my daughter, instead of catching that elevator like she was supposed to be with her brother, she decided she's gonna go upstairs. So he
You walk
followed-
up the stairs.
Yeah, and he followed her.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't know. He tried to do whatever he did,
Oh,
but
wow.
her brother had sense enough to say, "Wait a minute, it's taking her too long," and he went down the
Yeah,
stairs.
Looking for his sister.
Right,
for his
Thank
sister.
God.
So all of
Got
a
it?
sudden, Malik, my son is, forget it. I can
Oh.
see he was like no more than about 11 or 12.
Mhm. Thank you.
He comes in the house and he
Yeah.
goes to the kitchen drawer looking for a butcher knife.
Woo, I know that's right.
So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what is going on. So I'm running after him, and he's going down the stairs, said he's going to kill his man because he touched his sister.
Isn't that something?
And I
Lot
thought,
of
and
perverts.
then Miran just later on told me the story, and then I ended up you know, he was losing his job and
Mhm.
whatever.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
but I was saying to myself, this boy had a rage in him then. I
Yeah.
should have recognized it
Yeah.
because that rage kept him like he was a street nigga, let me say, and people
But
feared him.
those signs, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
Love Malik, knew Malik since he was a child, since he was a little one. He used to sit right back here with his lean. With his little lean. But he was a bad brother.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I said,
But perhaps,
Uh-huh.
come on, Kareem,
Mhm.
perhaps, Julian, and thank you
Uh-huh.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
When I think about Sonny, and even think about Dominique's experience,
Mhm.
that maybe even for him, when energy gets locked in your body, it's gonna find expression.
I'm gonna say my
It's gonna
part.
find expression sooner or later.
I'm gonna say something that I think you should
I'll
hear.
get to you in just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I learned
Mhm.
later on, much later, with my second go round of
Right,
kids,
yes.
not the first
Right,
go round,
right.
that to help them find a way to release whatever it is they were feeling.
Right.
Which means if you need to go in the room and scream, throw a pillow,
Right.
don't break nothing you didn't buy.
Right.
But whatever you get it out. And I said, you can say anything to me, but you can't get out in the street.
Let me tell you
mouth off,
something,
you
Black
know?
America.
Just a moment, please. You know, you can't be disrespectful in public, but
Right.
you go in your room, calm yourself down, then say, Mommy, I need to talk to you.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I will sit there and hear anything you have to say.
That was great dialogue that you developed.
Because I understood, I knew for myself, you gotta get, if that energy don't come out, it'll show up where you the least expect it to.
Yeah.
Cause it has to have an outlet.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a pressure cooker.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna turn those valves and let that steam out, it's gonna explode.
Explode,
And you
yeah.
don't want it to explode
I
on the
don't
wrong
like
person.
pressure
It will explode in the least, when you least
Least
expect
expected.
it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
so, and I don't know your whole story, Dominique.
No, I told you.
Yeah, you share the story, but your story of releasing that energy, because you share the story, and I can still feel the trauma of it.
Mhm.
I can still feel that there's
Right.
pain, right,
Oh.
in you
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
And so that means that somewhere it's still in your cells.
She don't wash it out yet.
Yes, it hasn't been
Yeah.
washed out
Oh,
yet.
Yeah, it needs to be washed
It
out.
needs to be washed out, and that's for all of us, you know,
Yeah.
we have those things that haven't been washed out
Yeah.
in us
Mhm.
yet. And no one can say when and how, but when we recognize that I have energy in me that hasn't been, I like that phrase, washed out, that's our journey in life to do that. It's our journey to find how we can release it. That's healing for you, and
Yeah.
Not for anybody else.
For nobody else.
That's just
Let
for
me
you.
let the brother
Now-
over here say
now-
something.
and now-
Kareem, you wanna get something to eat? We got some pizza and chicken?
I'm gonna say something you don't like. This is.
I know you always say that. You open up.
And we end up liking what you say.
Oh, we end up liking what you say.
I wanna say something.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you something about Black America that I've learned.
Okay,
Oh.
okay.
You guys live in denial.
Okay,
And you're gonna have to
alright,
live to the
alright.
truth. I'm gonna tell you this. You look for escapism. You want to you want to come with all this. You don't need to run to a man and want to kill him because they need A, B, C, D. Hold your man accountable for raising a child. You don't hold your man accountable because you left your man to be taken by the white man. I know my language is not beautiful, but it's honest. I'm gonna tell you something.
It's not gonna.
I'm sorry.
That we're not gonna lie.
Black American men are very quick to shoot their own people, but they can't confront a white man. Why don't we have what's his name who killed this black boy? The name is gonna come back, and I'm gonna come back with the name. Why can't you kill him? Because I know I can. Yes, I can, and I'm willing to. Your man.
I think you shouldn't say that because
yeah,
that's premeditated murder and we don't want to be part of it, okay?
Oh, okay.
Exactly. The difference
So,
between.
and if you thank you to that point, so if you know the name, don't say the name, because then I would be obligated to report
Report
that.
that.
So, just
So-
hypothetically.
so at the end of the day-
Hypothetically, thank you, Julie, hypothetically.
Your men run the
You still on
streets.
Zoom?
Can I,
Yeah,
can I,
hypothetically, you're saying that.
can I finish what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Quickly,
Yes.
because we need to just get a couple more points in and we're almost out of time.
Can I put my points in?
Quickly. Go ahead.
Yes, young men run the streets talking all tough. All they do is kill their only black man.
Yeah, that's.
We don't do that.
Well,
Oh, okay,
let's
that's
back
nice.
up, let's back up,
Yeah.
and let's bring some clarity here.
Uh-huh.
Because when you shared this earlier, I called your attention to Uganda, I called your attention to Nigeria, and we can just stop there. So genocide, wherever it's at, whether it's in Uganda, blacks killing blacks, or Nigeria, blacks killing blacks, or on the streets of Newark, Chicago, Detroit, Watts, wherever it's at, it's a form of genocide. So we can't justify, we can't frame that genocide in a way that's palatable and then condemn this genocide. We are all one family, brothers and sisters, and it grieves us when we hear about it happening in the motherland, and it grieves us when we hear about it happening in the United States of America. So having said that, let's just quickly move on. We talked about change. I want to just note something. You remember when Sonny was talking about when he went to the facility where it was more regimented and they had the cottages.
Right.
And he talked about them having certain cottages, the ones that was housed there were used almost as the enforcers, right? For the other kids.
Right.
The bigger kids, and they had the cottages with the people that were more crazy, you know, he talked about. But I wanted to just draw some parallels to this idea of prison patrols, and that's what I'm calling them. He wasn't technically in a prison, it was in a reform school.
Right.
But when we think about it, what came in my mind?
Make it right. The
All
first
right,
one to the
right.
right.
Okay.
Thank y'all for being this lovely for me.
Yeah.
It makes everybody feel welcome and safe. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When I read that part, my mind went to what the slave patrols were.
Yes. Yes, the enforcers.
The ones that ran after the runaways.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And sometimes they use some of our own people to run after the other blacks that were trying to escape. And just reading that part in my mind, it just felt like slavery relived. So it's a different time, less than 100 years later, but we can fast forward into today.
Right.
And we still see that same slavery kind of modality played out in our communities, in our streets. Because someone is wearing a badge, and police officers, don't take this as an indictment of police officers. Because they're great ones. Julie's son, and I love him dearly, is in law enforcement.
Right.
I've known him since before he was born.
Right.
Julie was carrying him all over the place.
Not trying to be funny or sound racist, our own race, black cops, is more racist than the regular ones is, though. They treat us more messed
Sometimes
up
we
than the
find
Hispanic
that to be
ones,
true.
the white cops and all that. The black cops treat us bad.
But think about that running, trying to
Not
escape
all,
and get
but
away.
some.
And someone running after you.
Yeah.
And using your own people
To get you.
to get you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, it was just kind of, I felt it in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it virally, like, oh my goodness, we keep recycling this in our community.
Prison patrol.
Yeah, we keep recycling this. And in fact, in one of the courses that I teach, Gender and Violence, I share with my students the history of how police came to be in this country. They initially were slave patrols. Police initially were put in place to capture slaves that were runaways and to enforce them to stay on the plantation and do what they were scripted to do, and to be an extension of the owner of the plantation to enforce the rules. That's the history of police in this country. And that had to shift when slavery ended.
Right.
But when slavery ended, we still had those patrols, because you had all these laws in place. If you were a black man, you couldn't be out walking after dark, unless they could
Jim
lock
Crow,
you up,
Jim
they
Crow.
could put you back on the chain gang and
Yeah.
force you to labor.
Yeah.
So it continued, but in different forms.
Right.
And we see that even today.
Good.
A black man walking or a black man driving, or for that much, a black
Mhm.
woman walking or a
Right.
black woman driving.
Right.
So for me, it was just, how do we break out of
This
these
cycle.
these
cycle.
cycles?
Yeah.
How do we
You
get
know,
out of this?
what came into mind what his dad said. He said people doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
That's all you see.
And over. And that's the cycle. That's the cycle. And that's an addictive cycle. An addiction is not just substance. Addiction is we're addicted to the same dysfunctional behavior.
Yes, yes.
Same pathological
And accept it.
behavior.
Yes.
You know, it's easy to recognize the substance, you know,
Right.
when we're taking a substance that we're addicted to. But if we can stop and pay attention to the patterns that are intergenerational, that we've
Yes.
seen paralleling
Yes,
through
yes.
our communities
Right.
for decades and centuries. How and when do we stop these patterns?
You have to become
Brown's-
aware.
Claude Brown's story was written when I was in high school. He was born 10 years before me,
Yeah.
but his story could be written
Right
now.
today.
Mhm.
It can't be
It could be.
relatable.
You say Claude Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Claude
the name of the
Brown.
book.
That's the author.
That's the author who wrote the book that we read it.
Manchild and the Promised
I
Land.
have to research.
So we are out of time.
Okay.
We are
It was
out of
very
time.
good though, very
It was
good.
very
It was a
good.
good discussion.
Mhm.
So we are now moving to chapter,
5,
we should be we were supposed to finish 3 and 4 this week.
we did, well, I
We were
read
supposed
up
to
to
read.
4.
You read up to 4, so
Yeah.
let's read 5 and 6.
5 and 6.
5 and 6. And, you know, move into where we're at so far in this book, begin to look at those patterns. Remember, we can look at where, you know, what happened, you know, 50, 60, 70 years ago, but can we see it still happening now?
Yeah.
I mean, even as I looked at my life and I could see, oh, no, I didn't use force, but I could, or I didn't,
I
I didn't
saw
make
the
a life
people.
out of stealing,
Yeah,
but yet, I
we
can,
saw the people.
I
that
saw
would
the people.
act, leaning over, and they never
No,
fell.
never hit the floor, never hit the ground.
That was so amazing.
Never hit the ground.
They would go down so
All the
low
way and
and
never hit the ground.
and never hit the
Oh,
ground.
yeah.
I also
Even
want
the
to say
limbo
something.
dancers?
They never hit the ground.
Limbo dancers, I just call them.
When we were, when the 60s, is when
Right.
heroin became
Really,
huge.
really bad, right.
By the time I got to high school, I mean, it was, you go downtown Broad Street and they'd be on that corner and you think their nose would hit the curb and as soon as it got close, they bounced
Bounce
back.
right back up.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Right back up, never would
Bounce
this.
back
Can
up.
I-
Quickly, cause we're out of time. I
Thank
mean,
you.
we're out of time, quickly.
Can I stand and say something?
Yes, you may.
And it's very important. I hope you, if you don't remember me for nothing, remember this. And I'm gonna say something. There was this guy, please give me a chance to just say it. And if you don't remember me for anything, please remember this.
Okay.
There was this guy who
Yeah,
traveled.
that's my podium dear.
You gotta move over.
Yeah.
Move over to the
Move
side.
over. I didn't yield back.
There was this guy, like I said, if you don't remember
You
me
can come
for-
up a little bit.
If you don't remember anything, remember this. So I'm gonna tell you. There's this guy who traveled the world, and I'm gonna cut close and just tell you the end
Good.
product of what he said.
Okay.
Wherever he went, he found out before there was any other person, there was a black man. If I make any sense to you,
Yeah.
and that is what I preach to people. Before there was anybody anywhere, there was a black man.
Okay.
Yes, we are different. Don't let anybody convince you that you came here as a slave. No, there was black men in America before black man was in America. Did that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Before there was
Before
a
there
white
was a-
man in Europe, there was a black man.
Before there was anybody
Anybody.
anywhere,
We
there
agree
was
with
a
you.
black
We
man.
agree.
We agree with you.
Yes.
We agree with
Yeah.
that.
All right,
We
all
agree
right.
with you.
Thank you.
Right.
That's why I tell you, I can drink and
Yes, sir.
drink myself to stupor, but I'm a very smart person and I love black. Before there was anybody anywhere, there was a black man.
We got
Okay,
it.
all right.
We got it.
Yes.
We got it.
And yes.
We got it. All right, so for,
No,
we
no,
got
I'm
it.
not
No, we have
done.
the time. We're not done, but we have to stop.
All right.
Because the clock done ran out on us. Next week, we're reading chapters 4, what did I say,
No, we
4,
put
5 and 6.
Yeah,
5 and 6, so we're on next week,
Right.
and we're off the following
Right.
week.
Yeah.
So next week we'll come back, so I want you to look at the
Read
change,
5
I
and
wanted
6,
you, addictive patterns of behavior,
This is still
in family
agricultural,
systems,
yeah.
okay? So you can take this with you, make
and
some
make
notes,
yeah.
and,
Yeah.
that's where we will land.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you,
so much.
Kareem, thank you
Yeah.
for coming here, thank you, everyone,
Yeah.
we're gonna close out with a prayer. Julie, you wanna close us out with a prayer? Yes. And we wanna thank his brother for joining
Yes,
us, we
yes.
bless you.
Yes.
We bless your righteous
Right,
mind,
right.
that you have clarity of thought,
Yes.
and,
The
I'll
garbage.
take it,
Ooh, your
I'll take it.
breath.
Oh, it's over there.
Right over here. Watch yourself. Okay.
Try to put me.
Julie's gonna pray us
Yes,
out.
yes. All minds are clear. We thank you, Father, for bringing us to this beautiful book study, and our mother lady just hit everything on the nail. We continue to give us traveling mercies going back and forth to our respective homes and peace. And we thank you again, Lord, for just blessing us, giving us life and
Yes.
clarity of mind, brain, and everything.
Yes.
Thank you, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
As we're
Yeah.
cleaning up, I just have an announcement I want to make.
Okay,
Thank you.
No problem. You wanna drink that? Drink it.
okay, well, maybe, where we wanna put this?
Yeah,
Oh, I gotta get my dishes and stuff.
Yeah, it's in the,
And
It's
yeah,
all
I
set up.
bought the
it's a
box.
lot, it's a lot, it's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff.
I bought a box, well, I bought, that's why I bought the, SUV. I have to-
Oh, 'cause it's a
So